Hey, good morning. Valerie Leonard here, co-founder of Brink Leonard Financial and financial advisor, and I hope everybody's having a great Friday so far. I wanted to take a few minutes because we are about to see potentially the House vote on an unprecedented stimulus bill, and it's going to affect many Americans, possibly like yourself. So I wanted to take a few minutes to outline the CARES Act for you, and then also tell you a little bit about whether or not you qualify, what you can expect through the whole process over the next few weeks, and also give you some ideas about what you might want to consider doing with your stimulus check. And then at the very end, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the economy and in the stock market. And I hope that this video is going to be informational and valuable to you. So first, let's jump straight into the CARES Act. The most exciting part of this bill is that it provides cash payments for so many Americans. It does provide payments for big corporations, airlines, air cargo carriers. It provides some money for national security and defense. It also helps out small business owners, and money will go to state and local governments to help cover some of the costs and the lost revenue that they're missing right now due to the shutdown. And then also there's a provision that will help churches and nonprofit organizations and also private schools. There's a loan program where these organizations can apply and they have the potential to have a forgivable loan, assuming that they continue to keep employees on board and can demonstrate that they're not laying off employees during this critical time. So let's talk about the checks that are going to be mailed out to Americans. So in order to receive benefits, you must have made less than $99,000 as an individual, or for a married couple, the limit is $198,000. And so this is going to be based off of your 2019 tax return if you've already filed. But if you have not filed, they're going to look at your 2018 tax return. If you want to receive the maximum benefits, then you would have needed to earn less than $75,000 as an individual, but there is a phase-out provision. So if you earned more than $75,000, that doesn't mean that you will receive nothing. That just means that you'll receive a lower amount. So the maximum benefit that you possibly could receive is $1,200 per person. If you're married, that would be $2,400 together, and then an additional $500 for every child that you have as well. So we are expecting to see the checks in 3 weeks. There's nothing that you need to do if you've been working, if you've been paying taxes and filing tax returns since 2018. No action is required on your part. But if you did not file a tax return in 2018 or 2019, you may still have an option for claiming benefits, but just know that they're not going to automatically send you a check. And then if you received a tax refund in the past 2 years via direct deposit, they're going to automatically deposit the money into your account. The money can be sent to your last known address. So if you've moved recently, it might be a good idea to go ahead and contact the IRS and make sure they have a current address for you. And then if you are on Social Security, or maybe you didn't earn enough to file a tax return, as long as you received Social Security and a 1099 showing that Social Security income, then you still would be eligible for benefits. And then I think another question that's coming up is if you're a college student and your parents have been claiming you as a dependent, you're not eligible for benefits. But if you have been working and filing your own taxes, then you possibly would still be eligible. So one last caveat I want to just throw out there. I am not an accountant. I'm not a certified public accountant. I am licensed to help you with tax strategies, but I cannot give you specific tax advice. So I would strongly encourage you to contact your tax advisor and understand a little bit more about what this act, the CARES Act, means to you and how it's going to work for you. So what should you do with your stimulus check that you receive? The very first recommendation I have is make sure you have a good emergency fund. So the general rule under normal economic environments, when things are not tricky and where people aren't as concerned about losing their jobs, the rule of thumb is that if you are single or if you are a one income household, we typically recommend that you have at least 6 months set aside in an emergency fund to cover whatever your essential expenses are going to be. So 6 months is the general rule of thumb. If you are a 2 income earning household, then 3 months is typically sufficient. Now, we are in obviously unprecedented times right now. So if you're thinking about making big purchases, if you feel like you are on the cusp of potentially losing your job, if you've already been furloughed or in a situation where you've already kind of been put in that position, then I would strongly suggest you put off making big purchases that are non-essential right now. And if there's any way to increase your cash reserve, I would recommend increasing it by at least 1 month, if not 2 or 3 more months than what the general rule of thumb is. So if you receive a stimulus check and you're not going to need it right away, emergency fund is the first place to go, the first place I would suggest looking at, because any cash that you have on hand right now is going to be there for a rainy day. And the next thing that you might want to look at, if your emergency fund is already strong, look at paying off any debt you have. Any credit cards, anything with a high payment amount, because if times get tough, you're going to want to lower your payments. And so by paying off that debt, that's going to help you down the road. And then for those of you that have a strong emergency fund, you're already doing great and you don't have a lot of debt. A lot of investors are asking questions right now. Should I invest this money? Now, that brings us to our economy. So we all know that we are in for real economic damage due to the shutdown. Somebody I know referred to it a couple of days ago as an experiment. Think about that. Here in the United States, we've never shut down our economy voluntarily, right? So this is an experiment in hopes that we can get COVID-19 under control and that we'll be able to go back to business as usual. And so when you're in the midst of an experiment, sometimes there's, you've got your controls in place, but there's always going to be surprises potentially. And so we don't really know how this is going to turn out, but what I can tell you is that Thursday, we saw over 3 million unemployment claims. So let's put that in context for just a second. If you go back to the 1960s and you were to look at a chart of unemployment claims all the way back, you'll notice a spike in 1982. There were nearly 700,000 unemployment claims at a period of time in 1982. There was another spike in the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And then you hit yesterday, where claims were over 3 million. So I want you to understand that this is definitely unprecedented times. And I think that, we've got to understand that a recession is definitely looming, in my opinion. And we'll probably get confirmation of that in the second and then the third quarter of this year. Now, the headline news is going to continue to be negative. So I want you to expect that. I want you to kind of understand that there's going to be lots of headlines out there that are going to be scary. They're going to make you possibly worry about your situation or your loved ones, or maybe your employer, or the future of this country. And so I want you, when you watch the headlines, to really try to understand the motives of the person on TV or the person you're listening to or whoever the reporter is or the news outlet, and just remember that their job is to sell news and to sell headlines. And I'm not saying that there's not good data out there and good reporters. What I am saying is just do your best to filter through the data. And I think it's also wise to set boundaries for yourself. Don't listen to it all day long. Don't listen to it all week long. Set boundaries, turn it off at certain periods of time, because that's the way that anxiety will really creep up on you and ultimately potentially lead to depression and those kinds of things. So you don't need to know every single thing that's going on every second of every single day if you want to lead a healthy lifestyle. And I think that we have to remember that our well-being is most important. And so I think the good news is that the government reaction has been swift and it has been huge. So think about the Federal Reserve and the fact that they've lowered interest rates to nearly zero. Think about the stimulus package. Think about the fact that the Federal Reserve is stepping into the fixed income market and helping to provide stability to our financial system. So those are all positive things. We've seen a stock market rally this week. So when you're in a bear market, you have to understand that there's patterns to a bear market. And so oftentimes you'll see a sharp decline, and then you'll see what we call a relief rally, and then you'll see further declines. And we're expecting further declines because we know that the economic data that has yet to come out is going to be negative. So the name of the game right now from an investment perspective is to make sure that you have risk management strategies in place to help protect yourself. And so if you don't know what that means, or if investing is not your gig, feel free to give me a call. I've got an assessment that I can take you through that's really easy. It takes less than 5 minutes. And we can help you figure out how much risk you're taking. I can help advise you on whether or not your investments are allocated properly, and if you need to make some changes based off of your risk tolerance and your goals and your financial future in order to withstand further downside. So I can help you with all that. So if you'd like investment advice, if you'd like a complimentary risk assessment, email me, call me, whatever is most convenient for you. We can schedule a few minutes just to chat via phone, and I would be happy to help. So I hope y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.